So today we're going to be discussing 5 ACT reading guessing strategies. Now before I get into what the actual strategies are, I want to first discuss why it's extremely important to know some guessing strategies and how these strategies help me improve my ACT reading score by 15 points. So first of all, it is inevitable, even if you're the best timer and you are perfect on the ACT reading exam, it's inevitable that you're going to run into some situations where you have to answer questions in an unexpectedly short amount of time. It happens. Different tests have different difficulties, different passages have different difficulties. So some questions you might end up taking a very short amount of time on. And that's where these kinds of strategies of answering questions quickly and making sure that you're able to get in and out of the question pretty fast are going to help you. And that's just what these strategies are for. It's for answering questions really quickly. Whether you call it guessing or not, that's up to you. You could call it guessing if you want. But the point is, you're gonna have to do this at some point in your prep. And if you know these strategies now and you practice with them over the course of maybe 3, 8, 9, 10 practice exams on reading, then you're putting yourself in a good situation and giving yourself a good chance to be situationally prepared for this type of thing, because it happens. So let's get into the strategies. But before I do that, I just want to mention we have 6 free practice exam linked below on our website. We also have courses there as well, so if you want to prep with us or get any tutoring, you can check that out. And also be sure to subscribe so that next time we make a video, you get notified. All right, enough plugs. I'm going to start with these strategies. So strategy number 0 is, first of all, do everything you possibly can to stay out of guessing mode. Again, I kind of just said that it's inevitable that things will happen, but you can still make sure that it happens less than it should, right? So make sure that you're trying your best to time yourself, 9 minutes per passage, just below that. Try to stick to that, and that means doing about 30 to 40 seconds per question. If you do 30 to 40 seconds per question, if you read the passages in 2 to 3 minutes each, then you should, just on paper, theoretically, be perfectly fine, and you shouldn't end up in any scenarios where some questions are just taking too long or too little, or where you're not able to answer the last 5 or 10 questions, okay? That's the textbook theoretical, formula for timing. Now obviously some questions take longer, but my message here is just practice with that intention. On average, take 30 to 40 seconds per question and do 2 to 3 minutes reading on each passage. That's what I recommend you do. Passage reading first, question second. If you've done this, if you've practiced with this method, done 8 to 12 practice exams with it before your test date, then you're putting yourself in a good situation to be sound on timing on the reading exam so you don't run into the guessing scenario. Now, like I said, the rest of the strategies discuss exactly what the guessing scenario is and what you should be doing in them, but do what you can. The prerequisite is do what you can to stay out of it as to the best of your ability, okay? So the strategy number 1 is to, when you approach a question, make sure that you read the question and you read every single answer option word for word, understand each one before you go back up to the passage. A lot of mistakes that, a lot of students make this mistake of, they'll read the question, and I've done this many times. They'll read the question and then they'll immediately go up to the passage to look for the answer. Now, a lot of the time that takes way too much time. It's a lot better and much more efficient to read the answer options first, because you're gonna have to read them anyway. And who knows, you might, even if you just cancel out one answer option, it was immediately worth it to read the answer options first, because now you know, okay, as opposed to just looking generically at the passage, I at least know what I'm looking for. I know that I'm looking between these 2 or 3 options. That type of content is what I'm looking for, right? So it just helps you, again, the answer options, the answer's in front of you. So if you read the answer options, you know what you have to look for. You know what you're going for, right? So knowing that before you go back to the passage, it'll save time. So when you're in that guessing scenario, you definitely want to read the answer options first. If you're in the scenario where you're just kind of glancing at 5 different questions and you don't have enough time to do all of them, if you read all the answer options first, you can at least cancel things out, right? So make sure you do this. Read the answer options first before you go back to any passage or anything like that, okay? Second strategy is give yourself an even chance on every question. Let's say you're in this scenario where you have 6 questions left and you have 2 minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. Tough scenario, I know, it's gonna be hard to get all those, even like half of them right. But what I recommend you do is perhaps read every question. Just read the question and see which one maybe seems the easiest. If there's any vocab questions, those tend to be a little easier. You can generally answer them in less than 30 to 20 seconds. Find which question maybe you find the easiest and just go for it. Now, if you've tried this a few times, and again, the strategy is if you have 6 questions left, just read each question, and it kind of goes against what I said, but one thing you can do is read the questions, read the answer options, and just be like, okay, if I can't answer this in 10 to 15 seconds, I'm just gonna go to the next one. That's the general strategy, right? So you go through each question, you see which one you can answer, and you just answer that one first. And that way, you're giving yourself an even chance on every question, as opposed to taking 30 seconds on the first question, 30 seconds on the next, 30 seconds on the next, and by the time you're done, you missed out on 2 to 3 questions, which again, that's crucial. That can change your score a lot. So the point is, you can, if you just quickly skim skim and go through each question and see if you can at least answer one or two of them right away, then that's some points that you got. Maybe you'll find that the last two questions in the passage were the easiest ones, and if you just did the generic approach where you take your time on the first 4 out of those 6 that were left over, hypothetically, then you missed out on the easy points, right? So give yourself an even chance. Again, you never know where the easiest questions are. And generally, I guess I'll give a bonus strategy. We'll just call it strategy number 2.5. Generally, the easier questions for most students tend to be the vocab questions. So if you're guessing, immediately look for the vocab questions, because those are not even about vocabulary, they're just about context. So you just have to look at, okay, where is this word being used in the passage, or where is this phrase being used in the passage, what is it referring to, and just find what exactly the context is, and use that context to arrive at an answer. So I guess that's a good strategy that I'll just throw in off the top of my head. Use the vocab questions and exploit them wherever you can if you're in the guessing scenario, okay? Strategy number 3. Remember our general reading strategy. And this isn't really a guessing strategy, but if you apply it in the right way, it can be, right? So when you read a passage, make sure that you're looking for those main 3 things that you should be looking for, and that tend to be popping up a lot on reading exams, that tend to be popping up a lot on the reading questions. If you look for those 3 main things, if you annotate, if you skim. Now, I've talked about all these things in some of our other videos, but I'll give a brief rundown of what our best and most effective and most popular reading strategy is. And this is something that helped me improve my reading score, like I said, by 15 points. It's something that's helped students that I've tutored improve their reading scores by a lot as well, double-digit points, so it can definitely help you if you try it and practice it. The general strategy is to read the passage in 2 to 3 minutes, then go to the questions. And when you're reading the passage, I recommend that you annotate anything that you find important, any relationships, emotions, or events. So relationships could be between people, between places, between objects. Events could be self-explanatory, emotions also kind of self-explanatory. Look for these things. They tend to be asked about in the questions quite a bit. They tend to be very common major themes in the passage. And if you understand just those 3 main things in every passage, then you're going to get a pretty good understanding of most of what the passage is talking about. So those are 3 concrete things to focus on while you're in the act of skimming. Now, there are many ways to go about skimming. There are many ways to go about timing yourself. I'm not going to go into all that here. You can watch the videos. I'll link them below that go over what exactly the different ways of skimming and timing yourself are on reading and even on science, because there's different ways. You need to find the method that works for you. Now, that's besides the point. That's not about guessing. My point is, make sure you're using that reading method and you've at least tried it, and make sure that you're annotating and looking for those main things, because it'll save you time. Again, we're trying to either figure out a way to guess or stay out of the guessing scenario. And those are still guessing strategies if we're doing either one. So make sure that if you can, you use a strategy to approach the passage and approach the exam in a way that'll help you. All right. And my last strategy number 4, I guess that's my 6th strategy now, is to use a timing method that is optimized for guessing. So there are different ways to time yourself. Like I said, one of them is to just do 9 minutes per passage, about a little less than that. Another way to go about it on reading is to do something more optimized if you're a really, really slow reader and you've tried the reading timing before and you just can't do it. You've practiced it a few times and it just doesn't work. If you really want to give up and you're okay with getting like a 27 on the reading exam or below, then try something like this. Do 10 minutes per passage on the first 3 passages, or any 3 passages, right? The passages and the questions. And then on the last passage, you'll have 5 minutes left. And on that passage, you basically just take it out. You skim through it really quickly, and you go through the questions really quickly. Now, 5 minutes seems like a decent bit, but to do a whole reading passage in 10 questions, that's not a lot of time. So you're gonna be guessing a lot, but that method is built off of guessing. And let me just explain the method a bit. If you get 80% of the questions right on those first 3 passages, and then 25% of the questions right on the last one, if you give or take a little bit, you should be scoring at least a 25, 27 in that range. So that's not terrible. And if you're okay with that score and you want to practice your guessing a little bit and get better at that, then these strategies can help you do that method pretty well. The strategies that I just talked about, reading the question first, using our skimming method, annotating, and all that stuff that I talked about before that I'm already forgetting. If you try using that, that'll definitely help you do this a little bit better. And who knows, if you're, like I said, if you're a really slow reader and you don't want to spend all that time, trying to figure out how do I overcome my reading timing barrier, this is an okay like cop-out method that it'll get you results if you're okay with getting like a mid-high 20s, like a mid-20s score. So that's the summary of what I just talked about, of what my reading guessing strategies are. I was gonna give you like 4 strategies, I guess I gave you 6, but let me just sum them up really quick. Strategy number 0 was do everything in your power to stay out of guessing mode, right? I already talked about how to do that. Number 1 was read the question and the instructions first, then cancel things out, right? The next strategy was to give yourself an even chance on every question. The strategy after that was to do the vocab questions first. Strategy number 3 was to remember that R, E, E, and annotation, you know, those 3 things to look for. That'll definitely help you. Try using that method that we've talked about in other videos. And then the last strategy was to use a timing method if you want that is optimized for guessing. If you really want to go with the timing method that I talked about, that one will work pretty well for you. So that's it for me. I hope this video was helpful. I threw a lot of reading strategies into this one, a lot of ones that I even really go over with the students in our courses. So if you want to get any more prep, any more help with us, any more one-on-one help, we have lots of courses that students have found very helpful on our website. So be sure to check them out. We do one-on-one tutoring. Students have improved 5 to 9 points on the ACT. So that's it for me. If you want help with that, check out our website. It's linked below. We also have 6 free practice exams linked below as well. Apart from that, that's it for me. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.